Heimskr says that I have the strength of Ysgramor, and my brother has his smarts. I've never been a smart one, but the companions welcome anyone with the heart of a warrior. When we step into battle, we fight for our own name, and the name of the companions. Until next time. Some people don't think I'm smart. Those people get my fist. But you, I like. Good to hear. Yeah, sure. Watch that tongue, new blood. I see. So, you like skeever liver?
I'm a warrior, not a blacksmith.
Nothing. I was just making conversation. If you're a talker, my brother Vilkas is a better talker than me. All right then.
I've heard you may actually be stronger than you look. Perhaps we can hunt together someday. It means resting your haunches in Whiterun more than I'd care to for one. But when it comes time to draw blood, there's no one in Skyrim I'd rather have at my back. It means waking up every day knowing that you could die, and having to earn your life by crawling for every breath. I don't know how those cozy lords manage to drag themselves out of bed every day. Why bother if you're not living? I'll take my leave then.
It's just... I think our fighting styles are similar.
Well, you can either get better with a bow, or try to learn from me. I think by now I've killed one of every living thing in Skyrim. Maybe time for a trip to Morrowind. Good to hear. Sure, what can I do for you?
You use the little swords.
It's called a short sword, Oaf. It's quick,
Watch that
sharp,
tongue,
like a razorfish against a whale.
Don't know what your game is, but
whales eat
I'll
razor
humor for a moment.
And they always come to regret it.
Well, yes, use the grindstone,
You'll do all
use
right
the workbench,
someday.
one at a
Maybe
time,
keep training.
until I've...
Enough with the training. Wanna go fight?
What in the...
No fighting just yet.
I don't
Not
know
till
what you're
Skeever
getting at,
says
but
we train.
whatever it is, it's not appreciated.
You get to fight. But before I fought,
All right.
I had to train.
You have come to hear the word of Talos, because the so-called Emperor is a coward. That's right, I said coward! Oh yes, he agreed to banish the worship of Talos at the tip of an Aldmeri sword. They called it the White Gold Concordant. Well, I call it blasphemy. A true son of the Empire would never have turned his back on our greatest hero. Not at any price. Well, let me tell you something, friend. Cyrodiil is a long way from here. And in Skyrim, we never forsake mighty Talos. Let them come. I have no fear, for Talos is my ally, and I am his prophet. His word is upon my lips. His voice in my throat. Hello, my friend. If you seek knowledge about mighty Talos, you have most certainly come to the right person. In mortal life, Talos was a Nord, possessed of unmatched tactical skill, limitless wisdom, and the power to see into men's hearts. Talos mastered the power of the voice, and with it he united the lands of men into a great empire. In southern lands, he was known by the name Tiber Septim. Here in Skyrim, we honor him by his proper Nord name. So great was his reign in life. When he ascended to the heavens, he was made Lord of the Divines. If you want to know more, I'm sure you can find any number of tomes on the subject. May Talos guide you, always.
Do you get to the Cloud District very often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't.
Yes. I was just talking to the Jarl, actually. He did say he was missing his court jester. Your clothes are perfect, by the way, but you need to work on your routine a little.
I don't think there's a need for that. Oh, it took years, but I earned my way to the top. I own Chilfaro Farm, you see. Very successful business, obviously.
You should go to the temple and see a healer right away. It can't be healthy having your head stuck so far up your own backside.
I don't have to take that from you.
I hate that pompous red guard who wanders around Whiterun boasting. If he mentions the Cloud District one more time, then I'm going to get one of the vegetables from his farm and ram them up his... Sorry, I was going off on a rant again, wasn't I?
Wait, I know you.
Greetings, fair lass. It's not often such beauty is allowed to blossom in such a cold and dreary place. They call me Larkspur. That name should tell you anything you need to know, and everything you want to believe. And I consider it bad form to leave a comely lass wanting. Perhaps you may have heard rumors regarding my vicious appetite for women, and I assure you, I'm never vicious. You may have heard I'm a nefarious rogue who robs from the wealthy and gives to the poor, but there is nothing nefarious about justice. You may have heard I'm as tall as a giant and have claws like a werewolf. And so, I submit to you my hands as evidence, and you'll find that they're strong, but their touch is gentle. Then consider yourself blessed. You can hear the story of Larkspur from the one who lived it. Would you believe me if I said to meet fair lasses such as yourself? I won't insult your intelligence with such a rehearsed approach. Yet, it's not all lies. The lass is most fair. I dare not. If I were to call every lass fair, the word would cease to have all meaning. I choose my words carefully, and my women more so. I confess, I didn't come to this dark and bleak dungeon to find such radiance, yet it pleases me all the same. I come here every day to remind myself that I'm a free man, and to appreciate all the beautiful gifts life has to offer. I'm a bandit, a thief, which might strike you as odd considering this dashing head of mine is still attached to its body. After all, in this land, only the rich get a trial, whether your capital is coin or politics. My pursuers couldn't execute me because I turned myself in. I turned myself in because the Jarl can't risk an execution. With the civil war going on, there's too much turmoil, and the Jarl knows his chair isn't exclusive to his bottom. To execute a bandit who sacks finely clothed men and spreads the coin among the people, well, that won't make that chair any more comfortable. Now that's a time I don't mind revisiting. They call me Poverty's Prince, which, like the king in rags, is both the title of disrespect and honor. Whether a person thought it one or the other could tell you all you needed to know about their station. I myself accepted it with great pride. Ha! A thief after my own heart. The truth is, I accepted the label of prince so readily because it meant I could keep more of the loot for myself. Don't get me wrong, we still gave a quarter of everything we swiped from those greedy merchants to those who were suffering. Yet, when I say I give most of what I steal to those who need it most, well, let's just say I decided I needed it more than anyone. You can call me a sap for not keeping all of it, but there are quite a few perks to be gained from fame. My mother. Truth is, I was a bandit before I was anything else. The bandit business was the family business, and I've been a no-good bandit since birth. My parents made it seem so romantic when I was a child. They would return and tell me tales of great beasts and come back with the skins as proof. Most of the time they brought back books they stole from caravans. They wanted a different life for me, but they weren't naive. They also taught me the trade, how to knock an arrow, shoot a troll between the eyes, and harvest its fat. As you might expect, I was a natural. They taught me how to kill a man, too, where the weak points were in his body and mind, how a simple illusion spell can pierce harder than any blade. When I went out on my own, however, I soon learned that the life of a bandit was far from romantic. There was no sense to the carnage. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor, armed or defenseless. If you walked the road, you paid the toll. You have a point, but it doesn't mean that what bandits were doing was the right way to go about things. I presented it as a problem of efficiency. Bandits routinely risk their lives to raid caravans shipping cheap fabrics or sacks of wheat. Meanwhile, a single ruby from a plush merchant could feed an entire clan for a month, even after the fence is cut. Of course, without information, you're still operating blind, never sure of when a wealthy caravan will pass by. This is essentially the difference between a common group of bandits and the Thieves' Guild, but how to build this network from scratch escaped me. It all changed when I read a book called The Beggar Prince, and I realized the beggars with eyes and ears on the streets were the key. I took what money I had and befriended them. I learned of the comings and goings of the city's wealthiest merchants and the mercs they hired. Soon, my whisperers included the townsfolk in the market district and the farmers who worked outside the castle walls. I knew what shipment was going out and when. I knew the men tasked to guard it. What time they woke up, their favorite drink, if they pissed in the river or liked to use a latrine. Gathering the muscle for the job was easy. Most bandits are too stupid to organize a guild, but they know the shiny things are worth a lot of coin. The whole thing made for good business, and after every successful raid, I made sure to fill the coffers of the lower district. That's how I became Poverty's Prince, I merely invested in the very beggars and workers that the wealthy try so hard to ignore. When the merchants found it too difficult to stop our raids, Alfred Battleborn used his considerable resources to threaten the people. He put the fear of the Daedra in the townsfolk, and the cost of information went up. Plus, the information we did get was unreliable. Alfred paid the beggars to misdirect us, or send us straight into ambushes. Say what you want about the Battleborns, but they're a clever group. Surely the lass doesn't wish to discuss such a dour subject. It doesn't become one so illuminating. But if that's my lady's request, then I'm but her humble servant. As I said before, I came willingly, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. I made the mistake of thinking the guards were men of the people. I thought I'd live as the Jarl of the dungeon with all the food I could eat and all the ale I could drink. And when the feast was over, I'd drink in the sight of maidens like yourself who would come to boost my spirits. It wasn't so. The guards aren't beholden to some idealistic sense of honor. They just want to fatten their coin purse. That's putting it a bit mildly. They beat me, starved me, and they gave me a health potion so they could beat me some more. When I refused to drink, they brought in a healer to restore me so that I'd survive another round of torture. It was a foul trick. The burns, the scars, none of it remained to show the horror of what I endured. I'm afraid I would have lost my sanity completely if not for the kind words of the man in the cell next door. He'd wait until the guards had left, until the night grew still, and as I drifted toward the brink of madness, he'd slowly start to speak. He never addressed me directly. He'd simply tell stories and laugh heartily at his own jokes. They were such awful jokes. But his voice was filled with so much life, almost as if his heart was so full of joy, he couldn't help but give some of it to me. I wish I had. When my sentence was over, I was ushered quickly to the Bannered Mare, where friends and companions came to celebrate my release. We drank and feasted all night and passed along old stories like bottles of vintage wine. By the time I returned to this dungeon a week later, I found his cell empty. You'll find, my lady, that my confidence isn't without reason. And yet, while it's true that I'm an experienced lover, I'm not experienced in love. Perhaps you will be the one to win a lavender flower from me. Oh yes, to me, the lavender is the perfect embodiment of a woman, and I only give it to those who define that ideal. Which is what I'd say to a serving girl, but you aren't that, are you? No, I suspect you like a more forceful approach. I wonder if it's not the dashing prince of the poor, but the daring bandit you desire. While I enjoy both roles, I really prefer the latter, as it's much more honest. Ah, you wound me, fair lass. Am I not charming? Handsome? No, what you fear is that I'll hurt you, that my desire is fickle. You see that I've been with every maiden in the city, and you fear you'll be another arrow in my quiver. This fear is a smart one, yet so few women heed its advice. It's the arrogance, you see, that make women set aside their fears. The belief that they'll be the one to tame me. You make it sound like life is something complex. Life's about one thing, and one thing only. Boredom or rather, escaping it. Everything we do is an attempt to fill that time. I choose to bed a lass, another may choose to marry one. The difference between that man and me is the level of commitment. Not to the lass, mind you, but to time. To stay interested, that man fills his life with wives and children. I'm gambling that even now, I can find something else to fill those empty days. Which is where your need of a companion and my needs collide. I'm willing to adventure with you if you'll have me. The alternative is quite scary. If it's a tale of danger and intrigue you wish to hear, then I've got a few. Now, there are many perils I encountered on the road as a bandit, but the most terrifying by far I met in the Drunken Huntsman. She was a raven-haired lass, Dunmer, with streaks of gold framing eyes like midnight. She called herself an artist. I asked if she could paint my friend's picture. She said her price was 500 gold. 500 for a bloody picture, I thought, but I was drunk, so I paid. Bloody was right, and it was my friend that night who paid. Most of my stories center around beautiful lasses, and this is no different. This story happened shortly after I was released. I received a letter from a courier penned by one Delvin Mallory. With my bandit career finished, he wanted to know if I was interested in joining the Thieves Guild. I confess I wasn't, but I was curious. Upon arriving in Riften, I met a gorgeous blonde Nord by the name of Mjol. Her body was ripped with cords of muscle, but she was still a lady. I chatted with this tall drink of a woman, and learned she was far too righteous for one so filthy as I. Of course, that never stopped me before. Yet, even as we talked, I could sense the eyes of another watching me. Now, I'm used to the wandering eyes of ladies, but these were filled with malice. That night I met Delvin outside the old Ratways. He put a blindfold on my head and led me to the Ragged Flagon. It's inside the guild that I met those eyes for the second time. Her name was Vex, and she said she had a job for me. Then she smiled. A rictus grin, so beautiful, yet so wicked. She never stopped smiling when she uttered the name of the mark. The name was Mjol. My heart was torn between these two women, the thief and the lioness. I yearned to have them both, yet it seemed I'd be forced to choose. According to Vex, Mjol was staying at a man named Aaron's house, some worthless cuckold who shadowed her around wherever she went. A visitor had informed Vex that a bejeweled ship made of solid gold was kept in the guest room where Mjol slept. If I stole the ship, I'd prove my worth to the guild, and to her. I did what I always did when faced with a difficult decision. I went to the tavern and took in the noise. It's the silence that I can't abide. Something didn't sit right. Mjol didn't seem like the type to purchase what amounts to a big gold boat, and Aaron, I've met men like him. Spineless, meek, and hopelessly in love. The kind of man who'd never let a lass sleep in a guest room, just as a lass would never sleep with him. When I broke into the house that night, my suspicions were confirmed. I bagged Aaron's golden ship and returned to the Flagon the next morning. But this tale has a sad ending. For while Vex was pleased and Mjol unsullied, in the end, neither would submit to my charms. Then, perhaps it's time we dispense with the words and retreat to somewhere more